What's going on YouTube? It's Joey back with another video for NFL Week 8 on DraftKings. We're almost halfway through the NFL season. That's a bummer. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. The NFL season always goes by so fast, but in this video, we're going to take a look at some of my favorite stacks for NFL Week 8. But before we get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're currently at 90 subscribers, so if we can hit that 100 subscriber mark, that will be fantastic. And then you can also like the video and leave a comment down below on your favorite stack for this week. It is kind of an ugly week, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on what stacks are going to be the winning stacks for NFL Week 8. But just like last week, this week we're going to start off with a recap of my Milly Maker lineup from NFL Week 7. So without further ado, let's get into the recap. So as you can see, I have my Milly Maker lineup on the screen. Ended up scoring 191 points last week, and I decided to go with a game stack of the Cardinals and Seahawks game. So as you can see here, Kyler Murray to Christian Kirk, and then I brought it back with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So that was where I ended up at for the Milly Maker, and then I played Kareem Hunt at 6,800, and then I correlated Hunt with David Njoku at 3,000. I played Jamal Williams, correlated him with Will Fuller, and that's what you want to be doing in these large field tournaments. You want to make your lineup as correlated as possible. So in the game script with the Browns being ahead, Kareem Hunt is likely to go off, but if it's a close game, you can project for Njoku and Hunt to both have a relatively good game, especially if it's a shootout, which we saw in this matchup. And at 6%, that's great for Njoku. Harrison Bryant for $500 cheaper ended up being a better play, but I was fine with Njoku in this lineup and Hunt. Jamal Williams was chalk 36%, but at 4K, I wasn't going to pass up his potential volume in this spot against a league worst Houston run defense. Decided to correlate him with Will Fuller. So if the Packers are up, that means the Texans are going to be throwing the ball more, and thus that was why I played Will Fuller. Ended up only scoring 12 points, hit a snowflake, but like I said, you always want to correlate your lineups, and then just the game stack of the Cardinals game, which ended up working out and helping me cash with Kyler getting 41. Kirk got there with 20, and Lockett obviously had the best performance of the week with 56. But this is a week where the chalk went off. You really didn't have to get too contrarian in your lineups this week, and as we can see here, some of the chalkier guys like Devontae, Jamal were in the winning lineup, Washington defense, and then a lot of other chalk players were in the winning lineup as well. So, I mean, it's one of those weeks every year where the chalk just absolutely smashes, and if you're playing tournaments correctly, you're not going to win. So, I'm fine with cashing in the Milly Maker. Ended up cashing for $30, but yeah. So now that we have the recap out of the way, it's time to take a look at some of my favorite stacks for NFL Week 8. I mean, this is an ugly week. It is really, really ugly. If we go over here and look at ESPN's totals, we can see that there are hardly any games with a total above 50. My count is there are 5 games with a total above 50 for NFL Week 8. So not a lot of projected high scoring matchups. So it's going to make for an ugly week, especially coming, after one of the best weeks of fantasy football that we've ever seen. Arguably, this is going to be one of the worst weeks that we've seen this entire season. There are not many games that I like, but there are a couple which I will get into right now. So the game that I am going to highlight first is the Tennessee and Cincinnati game. This is a game with a 55 total, which is the highest on the slate. And we know what we're getting with these teams. With the Titans, we're getting a very efficient offense that has a very concentrated share of touches on their offense between A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, and Derrick Henry mainly. And then we know what we're getting with the Bengals. We're getting a team that wants to drop back and throw the ball 45 plus times per game. If we look here at Joe Burrow's stats, he's dropping back at an alarming rate: 47, 61, 44, 39, 36. Had a down game against Baltimore, but Baltimore is very stingy. And there are a lot of viable fantasy pieces in this game. And then not to mention the Titans are essentially, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. The Bengals are even worse than the Titans on defense in terms of yards allowed to opposing running backs and wide receivers. So this is a great spot for every fantasy viable player. And this is a game that I will be targeting in tournaments. Joe Burrow at 6,200 is really cheap. And like I said, he's going to be dropping back a lot. So you're going to get a lot of passing attempts out of him. And then he quietly has a solid rushing floor as well. 46 yards, 19, 10, 11, 34. So, you got some down games in here, but he does have some upside on the ground. 46 yards, 34 yards, back-to-back games with a rushing touchdown. So, Joe Burrow is a guy that can get it done on the ground if need be, and he is going to most likely get it done through the air. And Burrow is also a guy that can get it done through the air, obviously reaching 300 plus yards passing in 5 out of 7 games on the season. So if he's a candidate to get the bonus on DraftKings, he's always going to be in play. And then we have Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and Gio. Derrick Henry is in a phenomenal spot. Cincinnati is one of the worst defenses against opposing running backs. We know that the Titans want to feature Derrick Henry. This is a player that is going to get no less than 20 touches in any given week. So Derrick Henry is in play for tournaments at 8K as your pay-up running back. Joe Mixon at 6,300 if he's back. I don't mind him. Gio Bernard, we saw have a pretty good game. He was largely inefficient, but his passing game role in this Bengals offense is secure. He will play on third downs even with Joe Mixon back. So I don't mind Gio Bernard if Mixon is out, but obviously if Mixon's in, he's not going to be in consideration. But the wide receivers is where we want to target in this matchup. T. Higgins at 5,600 is in play. Tyler Boyd, who had a phenomenal game last week, is in play at 6,600. Have to mention A.J. Green as well, and then A.J. Brown as well. So these are all 4 wide receivers that have upside in the respective offenses. A.J. Green has seen back-to-back 10-plus target games, 11 and 13, as we can see here. Hasn't gotten over 100 yards, hasn't scored a touchdown on the year, but the opportunity is encouraging on A.J. Green. Same goes for Tyler Boyd, 13 targets, 13, 8, 8, 8, 8. So he's a candidate to get, at least 7 to 8 targets in any given matchup. And against the Titans, I don't mind playing Tyler Boyd in tournaments. I also do like T. Higgins, who has been a very good player for the Bengals so far this year. He's had a solid target share in this Bengals offense with 9, 7, 8, 5, 6, 9. So this is a guy where you're going to get targets. He's at an affordable price tag in 5,600, and he's one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate. A.J. Brown at 6,900. A.J. Brown just has elite upside, as we saw last week against the Steelers, 6 for 153 and 1 in a good matchup, and now he gets an even better matchup going up against a Bengals defense that just is not good through the air. They're not good on the ground. So this is a spot where you're going to want to target the Titans pass catchers and the Bengals pass catchers, and then Jonnu Smith at 4,100 is a clear-cut misprice for his role in the Titans offense. He had a very bad game, and he's had 2 bad games in a row, but he left this game due to injury against Houston and then was very inefficient against the Steelers. But as we can see here, 7 targets, 7, 8, and he is the second option in the Titans passing offense. So Jonnu Smith at 4,100 is probably going to be chalk, but I am willing to eat the chalk with Jonnu Smith. I think he is a great play. So that is it for my first game. I mean, it's clear cut. This is the highest total game on the slate, and you know and the players in this game have very affordable price tags, so I expect them to be popular. But with that being said, let's get right into my second stack that I like for NFL Week 8. And that stack is a game stack of the Vikings and Packers. So, I mean, the Vikings, we've talked about it all season. They have one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. They have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They just traded Yannick Ngakoue to Baltimore, so they lost one of their better pass rushers. And you know, the Packers offense at home should be able to easily exploit this very terrible Vikings defense. I mean, we already saw it this season in week 1. Aaron Jones had a pretty solid game with about 18 points, as you can see right here in the game log. 17.6 points, 16 attempts. So Aaron Jones is in play if he's back. If not, Jamal Williams will be a very good play at 6,100 at home in a very good matchup. And Jamal Williams is a guy where we know he's going to get catches. He's going to get targets in this Packers offense. And if Aaron Jones is out, this is a guy that will get 20-plus touches, as A.J. Dillon was largely not good in that matchup against the Texans. So Jamal Williams would be the guy to play there if Aaron Jones is out for this matchup. And then we have the Vikings running backs as well. And this is a great matchup for Dalvin Cook going up against a Packers defense that ranks bottom 5 in terms of run defense. So I love Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook's out, Alexander Mattison becomes a must play at 6,000. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on is the injuries in this game with Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones. Moving on to the wide receivers, I mean, Davante Adams, what needs to be said. In his 2 healthy games, he's gone over 40+. There's really nobody else on the Packers that will command targets. And this is just an elite wide receiver with elite skills. And he is the #1 option on a Packers team that has one of the better offenses in the NFL. So Davante Adams is always in play. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson are also in play, especially if we project the Packers to be losing in this matchup. So I would like to play Justin Jefferson in this spot. I think Jair will shadow Adam Thielen. Jair Alexander, that is, if you don't know who I'm talking about, will shadow Adam Thielen. And so Justin Jefferson should be free to run against the Packers cornerback 2. MVS in this spot is too cheap in my opinion at 3,800. He's just a speedster, and he can easily blow past a defense. I mean, he did have a very good game against the Vikings in week 1, 4 for 96 and a touchdown. But this is a guy where, you know, his ceiling is 30 points. And at 3,800, I'm willing to take a shot on him, although he hasn't done anything the last 4 or 5 weeks. So moving on to the tight ends, we have some relatively cheap options in this game with Robert Tonyan at 4,300. Now, I will note his target market share has came down since Davante Adams has been healthy, but at 4,300, I'd be willing to take a shot on him. I mean, this is a guy that we could probably project to see 4 to 6 targets, and 4,300 is a solid price tag. But the guy that I am looking forward, or I shouldn't say looking forward, the guy that I'm looking to play in tournaments this week in stacks of this game is Irv Smith Jr. at 3,000. The Vikings have been getting him more involved in the offense in their last 2 matchups, 5 targets in each. Obviously, no touchdowns, as you can see here, and he's had 10 and 11 points, so not bad. But at 3,000, I'm willing to make a thin play for a guy that we know is athletic. He can run. He can separate from linebackers. He's running routes. He's on the field opposite Kyle Rudolph. So Irv Smith is a guy that I am willing to take a shot on this week at 3,000. But other than that, I think Rodgers would be the play in game stacks. Kirk Cousins is just so bad, and I don't want any exposure to Kirk Cousins in tournaments. He just does not have a ceiling, in my opinion. But he can get his wide receivers there, as we've seen numerous times. Justin Jefferson has a 42-point game and a 33-point game. So you don't need to pair him with Kirk Cousins. You can bring a Vikings wide receiver on the bring back of Rodgers and Adams to MVS or whatever Packer you want to play. But other than that, I think I'll just give a shout out to some other stacks that I like. I like the Seahawks stack. You can never go wrong with playing Russ to Lockett or Metcalf at home against the Niners this week. But I think I am going to only focus on the 2 games that I went into detail about this week. Like I said, it's an ugly week, and it's going to be tough to win tournaments if you don't have the right stack. But with that being said, that is it for this video. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video and supporting the channel. Like I said in the intro, if you want, you can subscribe to the channel right down below. Make sure you hit that red box. It's free to subscribe. Helps us out a lot. Make sure you leave a like on the video, and be sure to check out the DFS Dose podcast on all podcast platforms: iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, wherever you listen to your podcast. The DFS Dose is on there, so make sure you check that out. Links for that will be in the description down below. And that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you check out some clips of the recap episode, our 100th episode. Make sure you check out the clips. The clips will be right here. So make sure you go check out those. And that is going to do it. Peace, guys. I will see you guys next week for my next video on NFL Week 9.